Genocide thrives in silence, and nowhere is silence more deadly than in the villages where Christians pray under the shadow of guns. This is Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's most populated nation, a mosaic of languages, kingdoms, and religions, a place where Sunday bells ring beside the call to prayer, a land that should be a tapestry of coexistence, yet for decades pressure has been tightening beneath the surface. Colonial borders carved without understanding, ethnic rivalries fueled by politics, and the long history of weaponized religion prepared the ground for the crisis we see today. Over time, remote northern regions became fertile grounds for extremist infiltration. What began as pockets of radical ideology evolved into organized armed groups with cross-border networks stretching into the Sahel. But while the world watched the headlines about insurgency, another pattern began to unfold, slow, deliberate, largely ignored. A silent targeting toward Christian communities. In the middle of Africa, where ancient kingdoms once stood unbroken, a quiet war is unfolding. A war without front lines, a war without declarations, a war the world does not see until the bodies appear. Here, in the villages and towns of Nigeria, faith is tested not by doubt, but by fire. This is the story of believers who worship under threat, of communities abandoned by institutions meant to protect them, of mothers who bury their sons with trembling hands, of children who learn the sound of gunfire before the sound of a school bell.
In today's Nigeria, kidnapping is more than crime. It is an industry. A pastor kidnapped on his way home from midweek service. A choir leader taken during rehearsal. Entire families abducted from farms and villages without warning. No rescue. Behind the chaos lies a chilling truth. Kidnapping has become a structured economy with brokers, negotiators, informants, and armed suppliers. And the most profitable targets are Christians. Why? Because churches pool funds quickly. Communities raise ransom faster. And in many cases, authorities do nothing. Just this week, over 300 students and 12 teachers were seized from a Catholic boarding school in Niger State. Taken under cover of darkness, loaded onto trucks, vanished into hostile forest. 4 days earlier, 25 schoolchildren were snatched from a school in Kebbi State. And in Kwara State, a church service ended with smoke and terror. 38 worshippers taken after a live-streamed raid. What began as random criminality now resembles orchestrated hunting.
disappeared from a classroom. That same week, a church livestream captured the moment worship ended and terror began. Worshippers taken while the Bible was still open on the altar. Survivors describe similar patterns every time. Attackers arrive silently, move with military discipline, destroy churches first, and leave before security forces appear. It raises questions that no one in authority seems willing or able to answer.
Suddenly and a terrifying act, because that evening, after like 30 minutes to the program, we start the program by I think around 5, so like 30 minutes to the program, after all the praises, we just hear gunshot. Even to my own perspective, I didn't know it was gunshot. I think it was just sparkling of some wire, but by the time we get, they surrounded the whole church. Even some people, they begin to narrate that they are seeing drop of blood everywhere.
Now, from that Tuesday to today, when you are released, what is the situation right there inside the bush?
It was unimaginable, because when we got there, we really know that it was a dominated area by these people called bandits. Even they have the courage to tell themselves that we are bandits, and they make us know that there's no one that can just slip away without being caught. And with what we see, nobody can escape. From that place they have dominated. They've knew all the routes surrounding all those bushes within Kwara and other.
Doesn't begin with gunshots. It begins with a sound far more familiar: prayer. In all, a quiet Sunday Mass became a massacre. In southern Kaduna, midnight raids erased entire households. In Miangol, children ran into the night as their homes turned to ash. And in the boarding school of Papiri, Niger State, children awoke to fear. The night air shattered by roaring trucks. Teachers ordered into pickup vehicles. Students bundled blindfolded. 50 of them slipped free later, but nearly 260 remain unaccounted for. In an era where a single building fire in some nations sparks global headlines, entire Christian villages in Nigeria can be erased without a whisper. To understand why, one must look at geopolitics. Nigeria is a giant of Africa, a key oil supplier, a strategic partner for global powers, and international diplomacy often prioritizes stability over truth. Reporting religiously motivated violence carries political risk. Calling attacks by name carries diplomatic consequences. And so silence becomes safer than accuracy. But silence has a cost. It buries stories still breathing.
Yet, in the ashes of every destroyed church, something remarkable happens. People gather again, not in buildings, but under mango trees, on dusty fields, in burnt compounds. A mother who lost her husband leads the choir. A father who lost his son rings the church bell. Children who fled through the night return to sit on broken benches. They worship, not because it is safe, but because hope refuses to surrender. Across the crisis zones, local vigilantes and Christian youth groups rise up, not to attack, but to protect. Ordinary farmers standing guard through the night with makeshift tools because the world won't guard them.
For every attack recorded, dozens remain unexplained. How do armed groups travel miles across difficult terrain without detection? Why are villagers report drones scanning their area days before attacks? Why are attackers rarely arrested, yet move with confidence as though protected? Some survivors whisper about informants in government. Some blame foreign sponsors seeking land or resources. Others speak of spiritual battles they feel but cannot name. The truth remains trapped between testimonies and silence, between what is known and what is denied. There are moments in this conflict that do not fade. Moments so brutal, so public, so unforgettable that they become wounds carried by a nation. In 2022, in the busy heart of Sokoto, a young Christian woman named Deborah Samuel was dragged from her classroom. Her crime? A voice note. A disagreement in a school WhatsApp group, accusations of blasphemy that spread faster than truth. She begged for help. She ran toward the college gate, but the crowd closed in. Stones, tiles, flames. Her last words swallowed by the noise of a mob convinced of righteousness. Her killers filmed themselves. They smiled at the camera. And when the smoke cleared, justice did not. For many Christians across the country, Deborah's death was not an incident. It was a message. In Nigeria, faith is not a Sunday tradition. It is a daily decision. A decision that carries weight, risk, and consequence. They gather in cracked buildings. They pray in whispers at night. And they hold on to hope, not because it is easy, but because without hope, nothing survives. The world may not see them. News may not cover them. But in the ruins of forgotten villages, their story still rises. A story of courage,
A story of endurance, a story written in the shadows, yet shining like a sanctuary that fire cannot erase. Vocal narrator, softly from the wilderness of a shadow. This is Nigeria. This is faith under fire. This is the silent war the world must no longer ignore.
And then there are the mysteries that echo within the walls of institutions meant to protect the nation. Just last week, a decorated brigadier general was ambushed and killed, not by chance, not by accident, but because his location, schedules, and exact route were leaked to terrorists. Inside sources whisper about infiltrators, men in uniform passing intelligence to armed groups, maps exchanged, coordinates forwarded, loyalties bought and sold like contraband. When the attack came, it was swift, precise, surgical, executed with insider knowledge, the kind of operation impossible without someone on the inside. And as the nation mourned him, the question grew louder. If a brigadier general is not safe, who is? In a country where terrorists move with the confidence of knowing the blind spots, where security leaks come from the very institutions charged to defend the people, the boundaries between safety and danger blur into shadow.
A new release video by the Islamic State of West African Province ISWAP has intensified national anxiety after the militant group claimed it captured and executed Brigadier General Uwa Uba, commander of the Nigerian Army 25 Brigade, during an ambush in Wajikoro, Borno State. The footage surfaced barely 24 hours after the Nigerian Army had issued a statement denying reports of the general's capture, describing the initial claim as fake, and insisting that the commander successfully repelled the attack and returned to the base. ISWAP's newly released video, however, directly contradicts the Nigerian Army account, showing what the group alleged to be the general in captivity before his execution. The footage has triggered shock across the country and renewed call for official verification of the commander's fate. The incident marks what could be the most significant loss of a senior officer in the Nigeria's counter-insurgency operation in recent years, should ISWAP claim be confirmed. Despite growing public concern, the Nigerian Army has not issued up any follow-up statement, even as the late commander's family members reportedly demand clear confirmation of his status. The silence has further fueled speculation and heightened pressure on the military authorities to provide verifiable information. The ambush in Wajikoro had to the long-running pattern.
In Nigeria, faith is not a Sunday tradition. It is a daily decision. A decision that carries weight, risk, and consequence. They gather in cracked buildings. They pray in whispers at night, and they hold on to hope, not because it is easy, but because without hope, nothing survives. The world may not see them, news may not cover them, but in the ruins of forgotten villages, their story still rises. A story of courage, a story of endurance, a story written in the shadows, yet shining like a sanctuary that fire cannot erase. This is Nigeria. This is faith under fire. This is the silent war the world must no longer ignore.
This is Africa Untold. Her story is ours now.